Gets us to our Sunday showdowns. We already had 3 games this week, but we have a whole slate of weekend games. So we'll give you our start, sits, bewares, the whole 9, starting with the Packers and the Eagles. And Rank, what are you looking for here?
Well, I have Aaron Jones currently as a beware. Unfortunately, in a couple of my teams, I was starting Raheem Mostert over him. So perhaps I'm going to have to start him, even though he's got a pretty tough matchup against the Philadelphia Eagles. The upshot is, though, is that he's averaging close to 20 touches per game. You know, there is a possibility that the Green Bay Packers start to make a little bit of a second half surge. If they do, the reason is going to be Aaron Jones. So again, I don't particularly love the matchup, but at some point, you just got to be matchup be damned and play the good player.
That's kind of my approach this week with Christian Watson, and the matchup can't be any harder. The Eagles' secondary has been playing great football. They've shut down some good receivers, but I think the upside is just too high with Christian Watson. He's been getting all of the downfield work right now from the Packers. He is who Aaron Rodgers is locked in on when they get into the red zone. So downfield targets, red zone targets are the most valuable kind of targets. So because of that, I think the upside is too high. I would continue to ride the hot hand with Christian Watson.
One guy who has a decent matchup this week is Miles Sanders, so I think he is a start. Philly, as much as we talk about A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, etc., Philly's still one of the run-heavier offenses in the league. They lead the NFL in rushing touchdowns. The Packers have the 27th ranked run defense, and 7 different guys have had at least 80 rushing yards against Green Bay this season. Let's go to the social machine. Tim Sosa wants to know, do I start Devontae Smith or Josh Palmer? Rank, I will toss this one to you.
Is it weird to say Devontae Smith?
No.
Joel, what do you think? Well, you like it? I mean, I'm a huge fan of Devontae Smith. It feels like every opportunity I get to put him into the lineup, I do it. I think the matchup's pretty good, and so I think he'll be your guy.
I think that's fair. Next game is the Saints at the 49ers. Rank Juwan Johnson is that guy right now, huh?
No, you got to start him. I think a lot of people might hesitate because the 49ers are one of the best teams at limiting opposing tight ends, but I think Juwan Johnson has given us enough credibility, currency, goodwill, whatever you want to call it, into the fact that you need to start him each and every week. And I would say the only other guy on the waiver wire I would consider would be Foster Monroe, but I think I'm still going to go with Juwan Johnson.
Yeah, I like Juwan Johnson as well this week. I will beware, though, of his teammate Alvin Kamara, who had that 3-touchdown game a few weeks ago and doesn't have a touchdown in a single game outside of that one. And then the saving grace for him was like, well, Andy Dalton is throwing the ball to him like he's Drew Brees. Nope, that's also gone away. Just 4.3 targets per game over the last 3 weeks. Plus, the Niners have allowed the second fewest fantasy points to running backs. You might not be able to get rid of Alvin Kamara, get away from him, but if you have another option, especially if it's like Jeff Wilson Jr., going the other way.
Yeah, the Saints offense in general makes me nervous this week, which is why I think you have to start, and maybe even a must start for the 49ers defense. New Orleans tied for the most giveaways in the league. They've scored fewer than 14 points in 2 of their last 3 games. Plus, 49ers have given up fewer than 20 points in 8 of 10 games. They're starting to get healthy defensively, and what DeMeco Ryans is doing defensively has been very, very good this year. This question from Chance 49er Morgan Florio. I need help. I have Chubb, Henry, Jonathan Taylor, Debo, A.J. Brown, and Terry McLaurin. I need to sit one. Who do I sit? So he just wants to basically brag about his roster, really, is what it is.
I'm like flabbergasted trying to read all of these names right here. Is it crazy to say, for me, it's between Debo and A.J. Brown, I think. Is it crazy to say Debo just because there's so many options there in the Niners passing attack?
No, not with a roster that's loaded. I think Debo Samuel probably is the odd man out in that one. That's a flex, though. Bengals at the Titans. Rank Treylon Burks. He's heating up lately.
Sleeper, as you see right there, the totals on the board are correct. He leads the team in targets, receptions, receiving yards against the Packers in Week 11. And really, the whole reason the Titans felt comfortable moving on from A.J. Brown is that they thought they could, put a player like Treylon Burks into the lineup and he would give you the same production. Now, I would say that it's not really quite worked out the way they had wanted to for the entirety of the season. But I think this week against the Bengals, there's another opportunity for Burks to go out there and lead this Titans offense through the air. So again, if you're in a need for a wide receiver, I think Burks is a really good option.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what he can do down the stretch here. And Welcome back, Jamar Chase. Look, if Jamar Chase plays for the Bengals, I say play him in fantasy. I'm starting him everywhere that I have him. Not only are Burrow and Chase the best downfield duo in the NFL, but they get the defense that allows the most production on deep passes. In fact, the Titans have allowed 775 yards on passes of 20-plus air yards. No team who hasn't already played in this week has even allowed over 600. They're like lapping the field. They're so bad. So the upside is far too high to get away from Chase this week.
So if Jamar Chase is a start, that means Joe Burrow is a must start. No team has been worse on deep throws than the Titans. They've given up the most yards on 20-plus air yard throws, also 5 touchdowns in those situations. The Bengals haven't thrown as deep as often this year as they did last year, but they've been very efficient on those tosses. And plus, getting Jamar Chase back only helps when you already have guys like T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd in that offense. So make sure Joe Burrow is in your lineup. Question from Ant asking, do I start Chubb, Pacheco, or P. Ryan with Mixon out Sunday? The answer is Chubb. The answer is always Nick Chubb. And I know the matchup is not great, but it's just, I don't know how you get away from starting Nick Chubb.
Chubb should be insulted to be in that question.
You should, yeah.
I thought that question was who starts alongside of him.
Right. Like, it makes him hard for me to trust. Only 4 guys have had more than 80 receiving yards against the Eagles so far this season. That gets us back to our Sunday showdowns. We got the Chiefs and the Rams, which once upon a time seemed like a really big deal, but not so much now. But Rank, it's not all bad, is it?
Well, I mean, like I'm a big beware on Isaiah Pacheco. 3 targets this season. I just don't think he's going to be very good.
I'm going to say beware of all Rams again, because I said beware of all of them last week. And look, no Matt Stafford, no Cooper Kupp, no Darrell Henderson anymore. This offense is losing all of their good players. Bryce Perkins has just 11 career pass attempts. Not sure who he really has the chemistry with in the passing game. And the Rams as an offense are scoring less than 17 points per game. There's far too little upside here. I would get away if possible.
Well, if you're going to beware of the Rams offense, I think that means you can stream the Chiefs defense. Rams giving up the 2nd most fantasy points per game to defense and special teams units. Just 1 game with 300 or more total yards of offense in the last 4 weeks. Matt Stafford is out. Center Brian Allen is out. Tyler Higbee is questionable. We know that there's no Cooper Kupp. It's just all bad right now for Los Angeles, so we might as well just keep targeting them with defenses when and where we can. Social question. This from Sonny Weaver Jr., who says Vontae Mack no matter what. But he also asks, the great debate for this Sunday, Juju or Tutu in the flex? What say you, Rank?
Well, I'm going to go with Juju Smith-Schuster, who's been one of the more productive wide receivers when he's healthy. And I'm sorry I had to bow out. I was choking for a moment there, Joel. Were you worried? I noticed you didn't leap out of your seat when all that was going on. But Isaiah Pacheco, he played just 40% of the snaps. I know CEH is out, but I still... With no teams on a bye, like I don't know how desperate you'd have to be to start Isaiah Pacheco. I'm sure there's some of you out there, but that would be one I would avoid while not avoiding Juju. Watch out, Joel.
Yeah, me too. Tutu with a nice long catch. I don't know that you can count on that.
Right?
Raiders,
That's one thing.
Raiders and Seahawks. Who are we starting, Rank?
Oh, Geno Smith. I was going to say junior. I don't know if he's a junior, but Geno Smith needs to be started. I know you put him on the bench last week because, he was coming off a bye there in Germany. Did not play well in Germany. But you know what? I think that he's earned enough credibility, again, that he is a guy that you start each and every week, unless you have been, unless you replace him with somebody like Lamar Jackson or whomever. But I see a lot of people asking Geno or Aaron Rodgers, and we're at this point of the season where you're like, no, I'm going to go with Geno Smith. I feel like he's more credible, and I like his matchup a whole lot better than I would like the matchup that Aaron Rodgers is facing.
I completely agree with all of that. And if I like Geno, I'm going to say start his top wide receiver in DK Metcalf here. Look, DK leads the league in end zone targets, but he has just 4 touchdowns this year. But that could change this week as the Raiders allow the highest passer rating in the red zone. I think we see Metcalf score perhaps even more than once. And that wouldn't be all that surprising as the Raiders have allowed a ton of production, including allowing a top 12 fantasy wide receiver in 2 of their last 3 games.
I'm going to go on the other side of this matchup and say you can stream Foster Moreau this week. And Rank sort of alluded to it when he talked about Juwan Johnson. In 6 of the 7 games he's played this year, he's had 4 more targets. So that means they're sort of looking for him, at least when they're not throwing it to Devontae Adams, understandably. You see there 3 end zone targets over the last couple of weeks. Plus the Seahawks giving up the 2nd most fantasy points per game to the tight end position. Another question from you all on Twitter at NFL Fantasy. Method actor QB, which, I mean, depending on which QB
Which is
you're...
Russell Wilson in his picture.
It's like, depending on which QB you're portraying, could be good or could be bad. But yes, help me, NFL Fantasy. Who do I start, Godwin or Lockett? Florio, who should it be?
I'm going to go with Lockett here. Rank and I were just saying that we love the matchup for the Seahawks and their passing game. Plus, Chris Godwin has shown to have a safe floor this year, but we really haven't seen the same ceiling from years past. So give me Tyler Lockett.
Chargers, Cardinals. This one could be a score fest. Rank, what should we do?
Yeah, that's what I'm going to go with, starting Josh Palmer in this one. I know that Chargers are starting to get healthy at the wide receiver position, but one thing that Chase Daniel was telling me the other day was that they've really gained a lot of trust, or more importantly, Justin Herbert has gained a lot of trust in Josh Palmer, knowing where he's supposed to be, making the right reads. And you saw it last week when he had the touchdown. That was a play actually that would have been designed for Mike Williams had he been healthy and stayed in the game. But they know that when they put Josh Palmer in the right spot, he can go out there and make the catches. So for me, that means a lot, especially in a game against the Cardinals who just don't stop anybody. So I'm going to go with Joshua Palmer this week.
Yeah, speaking of the Cardinals not being able to stop anyone, that's exactly why I say start Justin Herbert. Not only that, though, he looked healthier last week. He scored the most fantasy points he has in 2 months. He had a season high in air yards per throw, and he was even running a bit more as it starts to look like that early season injury is now behind him. His receivers around him are getting healthier with Keenan back. And again, the Cardinals, they've allowed the 6th most fantasy points per game to quarterbacks, and Herbert has a great schedule to end this season. His run starts now.
Well, I know the Cardinals are getting their wide receivers healthy, but I think you can still start James Conner, mostly because the Charger run defense has struggled all year long. They're giving up 5.5 yards per carry, the fourth most fantasy points per game to running backs. Plus, this is completely James Conner's backfield right now. They let go of Benjamin. Keontae Ingram's not seeing much work. Conner's had 82% of the snaps the last 3 weeks, so it's pretty much a one-back offense, and Conner looks like the guy who's in a really good spot for Arizona. Coming up next, the weekend is here. Bucs and Browns in the Sunday Showdowns. Florio, what's up?
I think Donovan Peoples-Jones is a sleeper in this matchup. He is the only player to top 50 yards in 7 games since week 4, and in that span, he leads the Browns in catches and receiving yards. He's also topped 11 fantasy points in 5 straight. He's second on the team in end zone targets. Just a good player who's playing well, and someone I think you want on your roster because he gets a quarterback upgrade next week.
I know last week we said to start David Njoku and it wasn't great, but I'm going to double down and say you can try it again this week. This is a guy who was dominating Cleveland's tight end snaps before he got hurt, and I sort of look at last week as them kind of easing him back into the competition there. The target share this season has mostly gone through Amari Cooper and David Njoku, and even though the matchup on paper may not be great, I just sort of believe in the opportunity, and I think it's going to be there in waves for David Njoku this week. This tweet we'll give to you, Rank. This one from Jackson Beebe. Do I start Amari Cooper or Latavius Murray at the flex? Amari has more potential to put up big points, but Murray's projected more and has a better matchup.
I love the Latavius Murray matchup, but I don't know. I'm not in the habit of benching Amari Cooper. I start him every week. I don't think that I don't know. I would love to, I don't know. These are two offenses I don't really trust, but I'm going to go with Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper is my final answer there, Jackson.
I concur. I think Cooper's probably the better option there. Bears at the Jets. Rank, you're not talking about a bear? What's up?
I talk about other teams. Garrett Wilson. I would say that a lot of the wide receivers for the New York Jets have the opportunity to have a breakout game, mostly because they did not like their quarterback. The only reason you bench a quarterback is because the players are like, we're not having it with this guy. And so for Garrett Wilson, Corey Davis is expected to come back. Even Elijah Moore. If you thought about him, you know what? There's a lot of opportunity. So I think that Garrett Wilson is a sleeper, depending on your need. But again, without a lot of teams, with nobody on a bye, I don't know how needy you are.
Don't know how needy you are for running backs, but I still think you can start Michael Carter this week. I like the matchup against the Bears anyway, but the change to Mike White, I think, really adds some spice to it. White threw to running backs nearly a third of the time when he was playing for the Jets last season. That was highest among starting quarterbacks last year. So those added targets raises Carter's floor in a game that I think is going to be fairly low scoring. So if he can get some of those targets along with the rushing opportunities, I think he can put up a pretty decent fantasy number. Back to Twitter. This one from Seth. Do I grab Tyler Conklin or stick with Cole Kmet moving forward? Florio?
I'm going to say Kmet if Justin Fields plays. Like Conklin, I understand we're getting excited about the change in quarterback, but that has a lot more to do with Zach Wilson than it does Mike White. Rank, do you feel good about Kmet if Fields sits?
I still think that Trevor Siemian would target him. So I think that I think this offense will be, I mean, obviously it's a tough matchup against the Jets, but I think Luke Getsy will be able to devise a scheme regardless of who the quarterback is that's going to get the ball into the hands of Cole Kmet.
There it is. Cole Kmet's the answer. Texans at Dolphins. Florio, what are we doing?
I would start Dameon Pierce here, and I know people who have him on their rosters are worried he's coming off of his worst game. That was against the toughest matchup for a running back in the Commanders. People are also worried about a rookie wall. I say it's more schedule-based. He's faced, in 3 of his last 4 games, a team that's in the bottom 10 in production allowed to running backs. His schedule opens up, and it starts this week in a better matchup against the Dolphins. Plus, he gets 80% of the backfield work there. I think you still got to continue to ride him.
I think you can stream the Dolphins defense this week. Texans giving up the 4th most fantasy points to the position this season. They are making that quarterback change. Davis Mills is out. Kyle Allen is in. I think they're going to try to take Dameon Pierce away as much as possible, make the quarterback try to beat them. Plus, with Miami being so explosive offensively, if they can score early and often, that forces Houston into a pretty pass-heavy game script, which makes them a lot more one-dimensional. Next tweet question is from the Racing Buck. Do I start Geno or Tua this week? Which is a question we didn't think we'd get this season.
I did not think we would be here.
We didn't think we'd be here, but here we are. I like Tua.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Tua this
Of course.
Same.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think we're at that point. By the way, Joel, did I hit you with that last card? No, I missed you. Okay. I was aiming for you.
I was like, he was trying to.
I'm not happy about that.
So, yeah, Tua's the answer. But look, Geno's a good start against the Raiders, but I would rather have Tua this week. That's fair.
Okay.
Right?
Sounds good.
And right now, we're going with Ravens and the Jaguars. Mike, what's up here?
I'm saying start Lamar Jackson, and that would have been insanely obvious early on, but he has been struggling since week 4, averaging less than 16 fantasy points per game, but this is his get-right spot. The Jags have allowed 23 fantasy points per game to quarterbacks in the last month, the 2nd most in the NFL. They also struggle against the run, and let's not forget, he's Lamar Jackson. He still brings just as much upside as anyone else at the quarterback position.
Oh, I'm going to say you should start Christian Kirk this week. And when the Jaguars first signed him to a whole bunch of money, everybody's like, oh, what are the Jaguars doing? This is terrible. And he's actually been really good this year. 4 straight games with at least 7 targets, more than 75 receiving yards in 3 of the last 4. And yeah, I know the Ravens secondary has been better lately than what they were at the start of the season, but I still think for the Jaguars, their best chance to compete and win this game is through the air. And that starts with getting the ball in the hands of Christian Kirk as many times as possible. Falcons and the Commanders. More Taylor Heineke love, huh?
You know, it was still 90 mil. You know what I'm saying? That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
Taylor Heineke is a streaming option if you have Justin Fields and he's unable to go in this week's action against the New York Jets. You can pick up Taylor Heineke going up against those Falcons who've allowed the 2nd most passing yards to quarterbacks this season. But don't do the gold chain thing if your team wins, Taylor. If there's one thing I don't stand for, robbing somebody else's bit.
I think Drake London is a sleeper in this one. Washington has struggled against receivers this year. They also have allowed the most red zone targets to the position this season, which bodes well for Drake London, who leads the NFL in red zone targets over the past 3 weeks. Plus, the Commanders are elite at stopping the run, so expect the Falcons to throw more than they usually do. And no Kyle Pitts probably means an extra couple of targets going Drake London's way.
This is where we are, where Drake London has to be a sleeper
only.
now. Broncos and Panthers, and you're wary of a running back here. Hmm?
Yeah, I'm a little bit concerned about Deontay Foreman. The Broncos are very good defensively against everybody. And at some point you wonder, when are the Broncos defenders going to finally pull the mutiny and be like, no. You got to find anybody who can play quarterback other than the guy that we've got going back there. But for this week, I'm going to stay away from Deontay Freeman if I can afford it. If I have other options, Jeff Wilson Jr., players like that, I would go with them. So that's what I got.
I do think you can trust Latavius Murray, though. I've got him as a sleeper this week. Mel Go is Mel gone. Chase Edmonds has been run off to injured reserve. And right now, it's Latavius Murray's backfield. The Panthers rank 28th in run defense. Even if the Broncos don't score a lot of points, because they don't, volume and Murray getting those goal line touches, I think, sort of wins the day in this situation here.